What makes you think you're safe on U.S. soil with this administration that has not even remotely entertained your humanity?
But we're prepared.
We're so collectively desensitized to the U.S. empire that we're not even registering the absurdity. The U.S., a country where guns are sold at Walmart, has just kidnapped the president of a sovereign nation and head of army to charge him with possession of machine guns with the intent to distribute to a fake cartel that doesn't exist that we invented whole cloth. That's how you know the enshittification has already completely calcified in the American administrations, because the Cartel de la Roses thing, or Cartel of the Suns, was one of those attempts in I think the early 2000s that they just shelved, right? Because sometimes the American State Department will come up with fake reasons whenever they want to justify intervention. Cartel de los Soles, not roses, my bad. And that was a fake justification, which doesn't even exist. A Spanish law professor and author spent several years trying to track down evidence of Cartel de los Soles' existence and its connection to the Venezuelan government. This was his conclusion in 2020. The Trump administration, the DEA, the Department of Justice, and the intelligence services are the architects of the myth of the Cartel of the Suns. In fact, they are the main and only source that feeds this myth by leaking information from anonymous sources without verification. At the same time, they are the main actor of political destabilization of Venezuela with their unrestricted support of the self-proclaimed interim president and encouraging all kinds of adventurers, including terrorist invasions. If the unfolding events is not stopped, it could lead to devastating consequences for the region. Let's hope that this piece accomplishes the generation of a serious debate about the non-existent existence of the Cartel of the Suns, and that the organizations, media institutions, and people directly identified in this study as biased and not very rigorous will respond, offering arguments and evidence that prove them right, and that I, in the best case scenario, am wrong, or in the worst, am a mental. However, I have a sense that the aforementioned will respond, as always, with silence, hiding in the fact that they possess the hegemonic media and therefore have dominion over the truth, which exempts them from giving any kind of reason to my allegations. In fact, replying to me would mean exposing themselves, and that would blur the halo of truth in which they disguise themselves, and which is nothing more than an outright lie. This is the American version of, or the previous relitigation of the WMDs, but not even they didn't even go as hard defending this time around. Yeah, now is a good time to remember that the Cartel de los Soles doesn't exist, and it isn't even being determined by the U.S. government's own assessment, that Maduro has nothing to do with Trendaragua. The charges are, and that's why they had to add machine gun conspiracy charges. It's pretty crazy. And it's also very funny, I guess, not that it matters, but it is very funny to see all of these guys who were like, yeah, base, Donald Trump is going to be the peace president, turn around and be like, actually, this was awesome. Isn't this so sick? Aren't the libtards malding? Because you know that's happening. Because for a lot of these people, they have no real goals or anything like that. In the next few hours, all your mutuals and pages you follow will turn into geopolitics experts, historians, and journalists all at once. I like that he's saying this, but he's doing that as well. Glenn tweet, I'm sure you know which. One reason all leaders love wars. Yeah, this guy sucks. Nailing Glenn on this is perfectly valid. One reason all leaders love war so much is that it unites the population behind them. From Dem Party, from AOC to Manchin, fully supports Biden's war policy, also does the pro-war GOP wing of Marco Rubio and Lindsey Graham. The only candidates opposed are Trump, RFK, and Vivek. Yeah, Donald the Dove, Hillary the Hawk. That was in 2016. That's what's so stupid about this entire process, is that none of this shit matters. So many right-wingers were like, oh, I love that Donald Trump is a peaceful dove. He's no new wars. He's awesome. He's the peace president. only to now turn around and be like, actually, it turns out war is awesome. It turns out this is perfectly fine. We love that. Yeah, maybe you just like Donald Trump, man. I don't know. And I hate this because, like, for me, this is very frustrating. This isn't war. This is terrorism. I mean, it's war and terrorism. Okay. It's both. And also, one can say all war is terrorism. But you need to remember something. This was a big part of the reason why I was so critical of Kamala Harris. Presented a narrative that she would be actually more militant. This is why I lost my mind when she went on stage at the DNC and said, we're going to have the most lethal military. So if you're wondering how a lot of these guys were duped so aggressively, a lot of these guys were so duped. How could they have been so duped? Well, you played a role in it. The Democrats played a role in it. Yeah, this is the other type of cope. Yep, the Iraq war was famously over when we got Saddam. Me and my buddies fought in a 20-year war because Bush and Obama didn't get done in 4 terms. What Trump just got done in 4 hours. I voted for this.
Venezuela plummeted from one of the richest countries in the Americas to a total pariah state in just a couple.
You can't say Kamala would be the same as Trump on this one. After she glazed Cheney, she'd at least play into the democracy and not the oil. Oh, for sure. The propaganda would be better. For sure. If liberals were responsible for this, they would be really hitting the lines like girl boss Maria Machado wants to liberate Venezuela. They'd be propping up every like Venezuelan expat, every Venezuelan living on U.S. soil, celebrating, Maduro getting arrested, all this,
Hyperinflation, starvation, millions fleeing, all because Chavez and Maduro imposed radical socialism, seizing industries and crushing freedom in the warm embrace of collectivism. But today,
they're so triggered about the warm embrace of collectivism line. They all, oh my God, they keep referencing the Zoran warm embrace of collectivism line over and over again. Dude, you can't be this much of a anti-communist, brother. I don't understand. Like, who is this for? The USSR is dissolved. Like, it's 2026. Capitalism is you. And you're recognizing it to a certain degree, and yet you still are like, what's the problem though? Imagine if this was communism. Like, what is happening?
January 3rd, 2026, justice has finally come. President Trump ordered a precise professional operation. Nicolas Maduro and his wife were arrested by U.S. personnel and are now headed to America to stand trial on serious charges, narco-terrorism, flooding our streets with deadly drugs, and more. No unnecessary American bloodshed. A clean arrest of an indicted dictator. Trump could have killed this man in his sleep. But instead, he's giving Maduro a fair trial, something Maduro never granted his opponents who were jailed, tortured, or killed.
Okay, let's keep it real. I think it's one of the most consistent L's for Venezuela that they didn't do that, actually. Repression of protesters, absolutely. A lot of that took place, especially under Maduro. But if we're being real, even under Chavez and even under Maduro as well, they did not properly take care of political dissidents. You had to have seized the entirety of the Chamber of Commerce, the first coup. After the first coup was implemented, you should have taken over every single asset that the Chamber of Commerce in Venezuela owned and put it under the control, the stewardship of the state. And you had to have arrested every single collaborator with the CIA. Major L for Venezuela, kept consistently suffering from the repercussions.
13.3 says, for rulers are not a terror to good conduct.
And before people get mad about this, before people get mad about what I'm saying here, if you think that there was a serious plot, a real coup that took place in the United States of America, led by an active foreign nation, a foreign adversary, not like the Russiagate. I'm talking straight up. Actually, you know what? Russiagate is a good analog here. Look at what happened when Russia put their finger on the scales a little bit in terms of pumping up a leader, and then the opposition party didn't even prosecute or arrest the people that ended up doing January 6th. Okay? The actual leaders, not the random people that were doing the January 6th shit. Okay. But the actual leaders, the actual politicians that played a role in January 6th, that's what happens. That's what happens when you don't prosecute people, when you don't punish people for around. We have it. His name is Donald Trump. He's the president right now. Hassan wants to be a communist so bad, but would never sacrifice his earnings to get it. He will just keep preaching it and doing nothing and taking donations while being a millionaire. Yeah, except the real counter argument that you're supposed to present here is that communism is when one guy has all the power and all the money and everyone else is suffering. And that's precisely what I'm doing right now, right? Like I'm the communist dictator already. That's a much better way to if you're going to make a stupid counter argument, you might as well go full stupid. You don't have to go half measure stupid. So I'm full communist already. Are you seeing Mr. Base takes on the strike? No, I don't know what that is. Who's Mr. Base?
For far too long, Nicolas Maduro was a terror to good conduct, destroying lives in Venezuela and helping kill hundreds of thousands of Americans through the fentanyl and drugs his regime enabled. A righteous authority stepped in and removed that evil without starting another war. And just as Proverbs...
Donald Trump literally is like, we did it for oil, and also it is a war. This guy's like, no, listen. This is righteous authority. This is righteous indignation. This is Donald Trump not doing a war, but instead, like, what authority, brother? What do you mean? You can't just like decide someone is a criminal and violate all norms and all international law. Like, what the
Verse 29:2 declares, when the righteous thrive, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the Venezuelan people groaned for years under wicked rule. Now, go check social media.
Wait, is this I don't even know if this is a real live stream. I think there's an old video. Did this guy go through all the different copies of old videos? All the different copies of old videos to post it to be like, see, they're
in the streets. USA, pure rejoicing in the streets. Pure rejoicing in their homes. And even among the diaspora. Liberals are melting down, of course, but where was their outrage over hundreds of thousands of Americans who lost their lives or the millions of Venezuelans?
Fentanyl from Maduro's regime. Where, like, the government has not even offered an iota of fake evidence even, okay? They didn't even do the WMD with fentanyl, okay? They didn't even do that. Like, they just said, yeah, I think they have fentanyl coming from Venezuela, maybe. Like, how can you be so ready to swallow the boot whole and regurgitate talking points that the government is not even fully invested in? I meant, did you see Asmin's take on this? Oh, Asmin is Mr. Based. No, I didn't. But let me guess. Yeah, we're back, boys. America is back. Yeah, peace through strength. Yeah. I mean, Asmongold's take is basically this exact same take, I suspect, as is the take from every single right-winger, with a couple base in there for, for extra seasoning. He can't stop talking about Asmin. Did you not? I have not brought Asmongold up one time. That chatter said, have you seen Mr. Base takes? I said, who's Mr. Base? He said, Asmongold. And I replied to him, calm down, okay? You were here. You were here. You saw this take place. You saw this back and forth happen in real time. I finally baited you. You did. Take an hour off. Add it to the comp. Yeah, add it to the comp. By the way, yes, this guy showed an old clip. Posters of President Nicolas Maduro being torn down across Venezuela. This is an old video from 2024. Every right-winger in this situation cannot just like rest on the laurels of this action. So they have to actually imagine or invent a liberal that's being owned. Imagine an oppositional figure that's being owned. That's it. Because they can't just like, because deep down inside, I think they also understand that this is not really going to make their lives better. It's the same reason why when asked, a lot of Trump supporters will openly admit, like, yeah, things are not too great about the economy right now, but they're going to get better, right? And that's basically an admission that things are not great right now. Okay. You're just admitting it. And I think many people also recognize that. Many right wingers also recognize that. So they have to just like hold on to anything they can to feel better about themselves. Oh, I've imagined that we've like dominated an enemy. Why do I think this guy's an enemy of mine? I don't know, because someone told me so. They really cut their Somali fraud story short with this kidnapping. I would have waited a month. This is such a clown take. A successful regime change in Venezuela would be amazing for both countries. This is such a clown take. A successful regime change in Iraq would be great for both countries. This is such a clown take. A successful regime change in Libya would be great for both countries. This is such a clown take. Successful regime change in Syria would be great for both countries. This is such a clown take. Successful regime change would be great for both countries in Chile. This is such a... I love that the comparison is Panama. Japan? Do you cope harder, my man? This is such a clown take. Successful regime change would be great for both countries in Vietnam. This is such a clown take. Successful change would be great for both countries in Afghanistan. This is such a clown take. Hey, notice how I have a million examples and you said Japan. Notice how I gave you virtually every single example post World War II and you said Japan. We nuked Japan. We wrote their constitution. And when they were doing too good, we shut off their economy. And it worked. Yes, he used the suicide country that's killing itself with its anti-immigrant policies currently as the example of a country that's doing all right. Also, Japan's leaders stayed the same, like literally the same people. Also, yeah, we didn't even do much change. Also, Panama, the only one that you could point to, okay, the only one that you can point to as a comparison that is like, I guess, successful, was literally a CIA asset to begin with. So that's it. The only example that you can use is again, not exactly great, but was already a CIA asset. So no, I don't think there are many good examples. I know he's a lib, but I can tell the chat is a lot younger on average because people in here just aren't aware of the historical events of the last few decades. The Franco chat has people who actually remember Iraq, whereas this chat is unaware there's been a precedent set for this sort of nonsense. No, I think it's because we have a lot of hogs. None of your takes matter because the Venezuelan people have spoken. Oh, this is going to be the line, huh? We're just going to have to consistently bring up images of the Saddam statue being toppled over and over again until people kind of understand. It is pretty funny. It's not even the Venezuelan diasporoids, right? But it is funny that the Venezuelan diasporoids who are saying that this is objectively a good thing are basically 5 minutes away from being deported to CCOT. And they're like, no, you don't understand. This is really good, actually. Okay, well, have fun at CCOT, I guess. I don't know. Trump is calling you a drug dealer and a decapitator of children. So, and is using you as a pawn. What makes you think you're safe on U.S. soil with this administration that has not even remotely entertained your humanity?
We're out there with an armada like nobody's ever seen before, and we're prepared, and frankly, probably thought we were going to have to do it, but we were prepared for a second wave going in.
Mr. President, sorry, Nicole, can I just follow up on one thing? And that was when part of Vice President Vance's tweet about an hour ago said that you offered several off-ramps to Maduro that he didn't take. What did those off-ramps look like?
Political citing sources. Trump administration recently contacted American oil companies that the Venezuelan regime seized their assets decades ago. And they ask oil companies to invest heavily in Venezuela if they want compensation for their seized assets. It's going to be really funny when we just have to subsidize the oil companies even further for even entertaining the high profit margin crude oil extraction that they will engage in Venezuela, that they will not be selling to the American market. Of course, they're going to continue selling it to China, Canada, and many other places. But it's going to be great when we subsidize them for stealing Venezuelan oil at a much higher profit margin. Every single thing that the American government engages in is just a scheme to line up the coffers of CEOs and the big shareholders. Okay? It's awesome. But no, it's fine. It'll trickle down to you one day, okay? No, I promise.
Well, basically, I said,
So that's leverage against China then? The world runs on oil. Come on, don't do this anarchist oil bad grift. Wait, what? Yeah, it is leverage against China. I know that. I recognize that. Okay. And Trump will continuously sell Trump will continue to sell oil at bargain bin prices to China as the good lapdog that he is.